Well, thank you all for joining us. We've got, looks like a fantastic turnout. For those of you whom have not had the pleasure to meet at a conference or over the phone, my name is Alex Clay. I'm the CEO of Saran Systems. We make CDM Plus and all kinds of good things. We decided to put this webinar on today, basically to find out how we can help. To say these are unusual, unprecedented times is an understatement. We here at Saran have seen a huge spike, particularly in the last half of March, for people getting online so they can work remotely through our data hosting. We've had a large number of people either enroll in Engage Giving to do online donations so they can continue to receive support from their congregation members, or just doubling down on what they've already been doing, which is fantastic. We did a webinar a few weeks back, sort of end-to-end on Engage. Had a lot of good questions. I don't want to say that we're in a new normal, but sort of the initial surge of people getting online and trying to figure out how to run their operations seems to have somewhat slowed. So now it's a question of how do we effectively run in this mode until we're given some direction to do otherwise. Chris and I, Chris is our marketing lead. We were talking last week and said, hey, how about we do a webinar to see what we can do to help you all if you've got any questions. If you've been to one of our conferences, you'll know that we do a session like this Tuesday afternoon. Generally, open floor, anything you want to talk about, and those are always fun. We run a massive gamut of detailed to broad, what's coming down the pike, help me with this particular issue. We're happy to do the exact same thing today. So Chris is over watching the chat, taking notes on who has questions. I've got that chat closed right now so I can focus on you all. I've got I'm sharing my screen here. So if we need to pop into CDM Plus, looking things specific or Engage, we've got that. So yeah, let's go ahead and take some questions. So Chris, who do we have first?
Let's see, we're going to start with Janice Fox. Janice from First Christian Church in Zanesville. Janice, I've unmuted you if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, it's good to be here. Thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome.
My question is about the membership program and an issue that I've had since upgrading to version 11. Prior to that upgrade, if I wanted to go to a specific person, I could type their name and it would scroll and come up with that name. Since the upgrade, I can only type 1 or 2 letters, and the last letter I enter is where I go. Like if the last letter in the name is R, I end up at R.
Okay. So can you tell me, do you know which window it is that you're typing into to find someone?
I'm typing in the membership window.
Okay, so like maybe individual records or address. So do you have a list of everybody at the top of the screen and you're typing to kind of to jump to that person and it's not doing that?
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Sounds good. So for one, are you on a Mac or Windows computer?
Windows.
Okay, good deal. And let me look. I think I've got one of my right-hand guys here. Terry, I just unmuted you. Are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic.
I'm pulling up Windows now.
Okay, so it sounds like you might be running into a bug. Terry, if you could research that, what I'm going to have Terry do is see if he can get that to reproduce. If he can't, he'll get in touch with you to maybe get on screen sharing and see what's going on. But if there's a problem there, we'll figure it out, fix it, and then get you an update with that fix. So
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Terry and Chris, between the two of you, do you know where Janice is from so we can find her?
I've spoken with her, I think, before, but I'm not sure, but I can find it.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, we'll look into that and get you an answer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chris, who's next?
All right. It looks like we have Steve from Johnson City Alliance Church. Let me unmute you, Steve. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Yeah, I put my question, about a half a dozen before the end of the questions I see there on the screen, but I'm a total newbie to CDM, never worked with it before. I am the church admin, the church web administrator. I'm on a Mac. I'm going to work from home with everything with CDM as I set up online giving and membership, which is the modules we just purchased in the last few days. So my biggest thing I need to do is work from home on members only, not financials at all. I don't want to see any numbers or any giving, but I do have to set up online giving, and I do have to set up the ability to have members sign in and manage their online giving. So where do I start? I mean, well, first of all, how do we segregate the financial stuff from the membership stuff? Is that possible working from home?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially working from home, you're going to be on the data hosting platform, which lets you connect from any machine to your common data. I assume, or you should probably already have somebody at the church who has an administrative account in CDM Plus. And if they haven't already, they'll want to set you up with your own login. So when you go to log into CDM Plus on your Mac, you've got your name there. Whoever sets you up, whoever basically has administrative rights within CDM Plus, they're able to go into the administration window and set up what you have access to, which areas you can access and which ones you can't. So they would want to go in and say, here's everything for membership, but turn off contributions or accounting. I can show you shortly, or basically briefly, kind of where that is. So they're going to log into CDM Plus, and you'll know you're the right person if you go into the file menu on the very top left. If this administration option is available, that means you have the permissions to be able to grant other users access.
Okay.
So they're going to have one in here, and they'll create one for you. Put Steve in here. And they'll set up your name and a password. They can give you a default one that you can then reset. And then essentially throughout all of this section down here, this is where you can turn on and off access to all the different areas in CDM Plus.
Thank you.
So they'll want to set you up with maybe just membership, but maybe not some of the other areas. So that'll be your access in CDM Plus. Then in terms of engage, it kind of depends how involved you want to get with that. If you're needing to go in, you're probably not needing to go in and administer people's online giving accounts, right?
True.
Okay, so that's something else that somebody else would need to have access to who can get into the gifts and so on. So that's going to let you be able to go in and see members and add individuals' addresses, make changes, transfer credentials if you need to move people's logins around, that sort of thing.
Okay, so turn on all the check boxes in membership, it looks like.
Yep, and there's a handy little all button right there that'll turn off everything under this header.
Okay, and when we go to test online giving, I'll probably be, since I'm the web admin, setting up the web admin or the web page, I'll probably be the first donor. I'll have to work very closely with our treasurer as he's watching it roll in, correct?
Yes, yeah, he's going to get notifications as those go through. There's a resource, and Chris, I want to make sure we drop this in the chat several times because I suspect we're going to get a number of questions about Engage. There's a resource that we have, which is a guide to Engage giving, and it really walks you through every part of the Engage lifecycle, from signing up all the way to hopefully you don't, but if you were to, canceling. But it handles configuring Engage, how you get links to put on your website. It's got quite examples of email communication you'll get, that sort of thing. So this site, Chris will put in the chat, is confluence.strand.com/docCDM, and you go right here to the guide to Engage giving.
Went ahead and dropped that in there, Alex.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yep. Confluence. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Chris.
Okay, let's see. Next we got Robert. Let me pull Robert up here.
Okay.
Robert from Central Church of God in Indiana. Robert, I've unmuted you.
Yes, thank you. My question also is deal with the Engage Giving on behalf of our treasurer. We've been trying to have this going for a while, but because of coronavirus now, we have more reason to push it, and so people were signing up. But the question we have, because I asked her, she talked about how much of the fees we incurred for the month. So I asked, well, what's being used as credit cards versus ACH? And her response was that when she gets it as a report in, it all comes under credit card. Is there a reason, or is there a way to fix it where we can see, so we can actually look to see what came in as, because we want to push our members to using the ACH since it's less expensive, but we don't know how to do that unless we go back through every email and all that kind of stuff.
Right. That's an excellent question. Terry, for one, why don't you make a note? We really ought to have a story up to be able to have a different payment method for ACH versus credit card. For sure, that should definitely be there.
What, Alex?
Yes.
What about also different, like, and debit cards, credit cards and debit cards?
Possibly. Detecting if it's a debit card is kind of a tricky thing. I need to remember or research with stewardship exactly how we do that. I'm not sure we can do that right up front, but we could probably know it after the fact if it was debit or not.
And for us, I think debit and credit, I think, is the same fees, so that didn't matter as much versus knowing who's doing ACH.
Right. So one of we do have a request for an enhancement, which we'll be putting in very soon, to essentially list directly on the contribution how much the fees were, and that way you'll be able to see if they're doing the flat 30 cents versus a percentage base for that credit card.
Okay.
I think at this point that's probably going to be the best way to do it, unless maybe you were in deposit processing and you had, let me see if I can go over here to the screenshot. One thing you could do is when you're processing the deposit, and this is the deposit processing window you want to run through every time you get a deposit with gifts that come in. This is the interface that you use to actually post those into your ledger. And from here, there's this list that has a breakdown by transactions. You can actually right click on this list and print it. And that's going to include right here, you'll see kind of what the fee are. These are some dummy amounts, but again, the 30 cents are going to be your ACH and the higher ones would be your credit card. So that's one way you could do it today.
Okay.
But we'll definitely work on making that more clear. That's a really good point.
Good. All right. That helps me out. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, Chris.
All right, Alex, let's see. Our next question comes from Linda, First Congregational Church of Palo Alto. Linda, you are unmuted.
Okay, actually, I was going to ask the same question as Rita, who's also from the same church. Can you unmute her too, or not?
Yeah, let me.
Rita Tetzlaw.
All right, Rita, you are. Well, apparently, there you go. Rita, you should be unmuted.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, I actually get two.
So she and I are asking the first question about text giving. What I was wondering, if there was an easy way for someone to give by text if they already have an account in CDM, but they don't have an Engage account set up. And I know it goes by email addresses, but we're getting a lot of duplicate entries by usually it's a household, and one of them has set up a new one by text, and it doesn't tie to the one they already have set up in CDM for regular giving. Right.
Okay, so the question is, is there an easy way for somebody who's already in your CDM Plus database to be able to set up to do text giving? So yeah, there's a couple of things that you want to strongly encourage people to do. When they make their first gift by text, essentially we look to see if we've ever gotten a text message from them before, and that's linked to an Engage account. If it is, they're able to make the gift entirely over text message. If not, we're going to send them a link that'll basically pop them into Engage, and that's where they're going to put in their credit card or debit card or bank account information, as well as their their name and so on and so forth. At the end of that gift, Engage will ask, do you want to create an account? And you want to encourage people to always click yes on that. there is a trade-off here between the potential that you're going to get a duplicate record, which is something we'll absolutely talk about. I almost guarantee you there's at least one question up there about that. And versus the sort of convenience and also unlocking all the functionality. Once you click to say, yes, I want to create an account, we're going to save the number from which they texted, their bank account information on file, and basically link it to their Engage account. So that once they have that Engage account, they can do the texting from then. The trick's going to be if they already have an account in CDM Plus, you'll need to merge those together.
You mean have an Engage account? Do you mean?
Well, so if they create a brand new account in through Engage, that's going to create a new individual address and giving unit in your CDM Plus database. If somebody creates an account through CDM Plus or through Engage, they're going to get brand new records in your CDM Plus database, individuals, addresses, giving units. If you already have some or all of those records, there is a process by which you can merge them together. Terry, who's works as a support engineer with us, is actually actively putting together some pretty thorough documentation on what that process is. I'll give you two things about that. First, it's not very pretty today. Second, we are building a tool to make that a lot easier. This has been a deficiency in the Engage product for a while, and the need to get it sorted is really, really coming to a strong point. Essentially, what you do today is you work to merge in individuals or addresses together. In terms of text giving, one thing that's important is that you're able to actually go in through CDM Plus and capture the number from which they sent the text. And if you actually to then merge individuals together, you can carry that through. The big takeaway here is really two things. One, when you're talking to people about text giving, make sure they always create an account. That's going to make sure they'll be successful. The second thing is, as soon as Terry gets this documentation together, make sure you follow pretty closely what needs to happen. Terry, I don't think that's quite at a point that we want to show it to people, but I expect that we'll have that together. I'm thinking in the next couple of days. And then, like I said, stay tuned because we're working on a much more automated system just to say, these are the same people, let's bring them together. Here's the one I want to keep, and so on.
Can I just follow up a little bit on that? This is Rita Tetzloff.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes.
great. So we are already trying to merge files because we're having this issue. One of the things we noticed, however, is we don't always know that an extra file has been created, because I'm not sure, but it appears that sometimes the giving records go into this pending process pending, but
Right.
other times it just goes right in and there's no way for us to know. Can we create a report to let us know any new accounts that have been added?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a few different things you can do. For one, when you set up your Engage, you've got an option to over in Web Ministry Tools, which is where you do the initial setup. Let me go ahead and take you in. Actually, get the right browser up here. When you set up your Engage, you've got sort of where you can do your overall short name here, your organization, your logo, and so on. Under the Engage Giving tab, for one, you definitely want to put your staff email addresses here. These are going to be the email for people on your staff to receive a notice whenever a gift comes through Engage.
So we might be getting that. I just don't know. Okay, great. That's good. Okay.
So definitely make sure that's turned on. Also, under the sort of the main Engage tab, there's a separate option to notify staff of individual changes. This is going to be true whether or not if they create a new account or if they log into their profile and they actually go and update an address or something like that.
Okay, that's perfect.
So you want that turned on for sure. Then, if I'll go back to this Engage guide, there's a few different emails that you can see which will kind of direct you where you need to go. So we send first an email that looks like this to the giver, and it's got your message you add, and just some details about the payment to confirm what they've got. Your staff are going to receive one of two emails. The first here, let me blow this up. This is, you'll want to pay attention. If it says pending contribution submitted, and there's a note here to say use the process pending window, that means that they made the gift as a guest, and it's sitting in process pending contributions, and you'll need to go ahead and link that into a giving unit. If they have an actual account and we know who they are, you won't see any of that information there. It's just going to list their name, and that means the gift is already in contributions. That's been done for you.
Even if they entered as a guest?
No, if they entered as a guest, you're gonna see this email that says go.
Oh, okay. This is where they log in themselves.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
one thing I can tell you, and this is something that I don't know if will be changing in the next couple of weeks, but there is some overhaul we'll be doing that'll help with this. You may get this email that says use the process pending window, and when you go there, you don't actually see the pending gift. What that means is they made the gift as a guest, and then they turned around and they said, yeah, go ahead and create an account. Once you create an account, which makes a giving unit and so on, that pending gift, we automatically link it to that giving unit. So it's been processed for you.
And when they say create an account, if they have an account, is the system smart enough to figure that out and say, oh, you already have one, and would you like to link to this one?
If you have, if their email address is in CDM Plus, yes.
Okay, so even if they say create new account,
yes,
it won't create a new account.
Correct.
Okay, good. And then the ones that use a different email address, unfortunately, they do get a new account.
They do get a new one, and that's where you'll need to follow sort of our instructions. It's actually going to drop right between these two, between receiving and processing, for how to merge those together.
And is there a way to tell that that was a text to give and not just an online donation?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, how do you do that?
So thank you. That's actually a really, I want to show you two more things in terms of being able to know what happened in my database from Engage. How can I tell, was this created from Engage, or where did this come from? When you're on any of the sort of the main record windows, whether that's address or individual, there is a field that you can search called source. And that's going to let you find people that were actually created through Engage versus from CDM Plus.
But I don't mean between Engage and CDM Plus. I mean between text to give.
Text giving and whatnot, yeah. So
because that's still Engage. Online giving is still Engage, and that's,
yes,
we don't see a distinction there.
Right. So with the text giving, if you actually go into your contribution records, that same source will have an option to say whether or not it was a guest gift, or a logged in gift, or a text gift, or what have you. So if we go to the contribution here and go to the source, I can drop this down, and I think, sorry, this database only has CDM Plus gifts in it. I don't have my my documentation. I can, let me switch over and I can give you a better sense for that. Sorry, I was slightly delayed this morning, or before starting, because I thought, yeah, I'd go ahead and log in so we could take a look at all of this, and forgot that my devs have temporarily broken our test site. They're working on fixing that. So yeah, that source is going to give you sort of a way to search the type. Also on this guide, there's a section for reporting on gifts from Engage Giving. And this is where you can go in, and there's a link right here that says finding text giving contributions.
Ah, okay.
So that'll take you right to how to go in here and do this, do that. So it's basically saying go in and search for a source of text giving.
What was the header of that again? It was reporting on.
Yeah, it is. If you go to, it's the section for reporting on gifts.
Okay, on gifts.
Yeah, and there's sort of some guides here for finding people who's actually been using my online giving. What text gifts do I have? Who actually has set up recurring giving, and what are those? We're also finding who has set up an Engage account.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. It's going to be Joe Nixon. You should be unmuted, I believe. He's still here. There we go. Go ahead, Joe, you're on.
Yeah, let me just give you a little background. I'm the finance manager at the church. We have an administrator that worries about membership. And now we have the pastor who's in Engage. So you can imagine the two of us with the pastor involved now trying to figure out the flow here.
Okay.
So for giving, I had legacy stewardship technology. That's where we've been giving through our website. Whenever I see something hit the bank account, I go to stewardship technology, I see the gifts, including the latest that come through Engage, somehow get into stewardship technology. Text giving gets into stewardship technology. I've never matched up or linked stewardship technology to CDM, so I'm probably not experiencing some of those problems that the previous speakers talked about, because I do it manually in CDM. I print the stewardship technology spreadsheet, I go to CDM, I put in the giving. And it works fine. But at this point, I'm not sure what we need, because we want to use Engage. Does that eliminate stewardship technology at some point? And then I've got people saying, I want to use Venmo or Facebook or PayPal or Apple Pay. What's going to happen? What do you recommend?
Gotcha. Sure. So a couple of things here. So with Engage, Saran, we develop CDM Plus, we develop Engage. We don't actually do the merchant, or we're not actually a payment processor. We don't directly provide the merchant accounts. We have a partner, Stewardship Technology, who does that. So when you sign up for Engage Giving or registration or payroll direct deposit, basically any service from us that uses a financial transaction. With that, you get a merchant account. And that is provided through Stewardship. They are the ones who talk to the banks, they talk to Visa, MasterCard. They hold all of your saved credit cards and so on. We don't do that. The interesting thing about Stewardship, who has been our partner for 10 plus years at this point, is that they actually have their own online giving solution. It's not a full church management product like CDM Plus. It's much lighter in functionality just for doing online giving. So what I think you're running into, which we've seen from time to time, is you've actually gotten into the stewardship's product to do giving through their site. Ideally, the way that we structure this, you shouldn't be doing that, in the sense that you're not going to be able to get any of the automatic import or any of the connectivity back to your CDM Plus data. So we've had a couple of people over the years that have managed to get into the Stewardship website. So what I'd recommend that you do is give our support team a call. You definitely want to be using, Engage. What we may need to do is find out if you have any people who are actively logging into the Stewardship site. We had a nonprofit out of Chicago that actually transitioned from Stewardship to Engage last summer, and we were able to help them basically import all the usernames from Stewardship into CDM Plus and send password reset emails to say, hey, you need to go set up a new password so you're accessing Engage. And the good news is all the recurring giving and everything, we ported in so they're able to see it. By using Engage, you get the automatic import, you get the deposit processing. It's really going to streamline a lot of the operations of connecting your CDM Plus data with Engage. So yeah, that's definitely want to call us about that. If you're getting online donations from other sources, whether that's PayPal or a Venmo or some third party, what you're doing right now is what you'll need to continue to do, which is to manually enter the gift and then enter the deposits that you receive as those come through.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Chris, who's next?
All right, we got Phil. Let's see, Phil. Oops, I gotta mute somebody else. All right, Phil, you're unmuted.
I didn't put in a question.
Well, you put your name there in the chat, and we just assumed you had one. All right, we'll move on then.
Nothing wrong with coming just to listen.
That's right. See, we got Ruth Howell. Let me unmute you, Ruth.
I'm very impressed you pronounced my name correctly.
That was my grandmother's name.
I meant the Howell part.
Oh.
My question has to do with point of sale credit card capabilities. We've been using Shelby. We want to get completely off that, but you don't. But we need to be able to take credit cards at our Wednesday night dinners or when we're selling books for Bible studies. Could you give us an update on when that is going to happen?
Yes.
Might happen?
So a couple of things there. And again, sorry to bring stewardship back up. You may be aware that we have a additional program called Sales Orders, which is designed for point of sale. Currently, there's not a direct integration to any sort of swiping capability. I assume that's what you're looking for. They can go and do a swipe and do a charge there. Stewardship a couple of years ago was purchased about a year and a half ago. Was purchased by a much larger company called Paya, which is spelled P-A-Y-A, but it's Paya. Paya has a number of products, and one of those is capability for doing card swiping. I had a meeting with our primary rep from Stewardship and an account manager at Paya in early March to sort of get introduced to this guy and learn about some of the products they have. We're really looking for card swiping to come through them. We built a prototype interface for card swiping through a MagTech scanner device about a year ago. It kind of worked. It was a little bit clunky because it was basically doing a web-based call, so you still had to put a full address and everything in there, and that's not fast enough for an in-person swipe. So this is something in terms of whether it's a Wednesday night dinner, an auction, a kiosk in your lobby, anything where you would do an in-person swipe. We get these questions fairly routinely on the sales side, especially. So the Paya rep, his name's Grant, told me that they do have a partner or division that does payment swiping, and they've got several different models. He was supposed to research that and get back to me. I have not followed up with him since mid-March when sort of the pandemic broke and we've all focused on that. At this point, my focus is, or my strategy is to work with Paya to see what their solution is. If that doesn't work, we'll fall back to what we built. So what I don't have right now is an exact ETA. We're, like I said, working very hard to make sure Engage is top notch, and things like being able to merge these merge gifts and so on. That's where we're putting a lot of development right now. Also, at the moment, there's not a lot of swiping happening because people aren't getting together, but that's not going to be an indefinite situation. So that's something that is definitely on our shorter term development radar. A lot of the holdup there was waiting for Stewardship and Paya to sort of get their integration together, which I talked with our Stewardship guy at the conference back in October. He said, yeah, it's almost done. That didn't really get completed until the end of January. So I know that you and some others have been waiting for that, and I'm very thankful for your patience. But it is something that's on our development list, and that's all the information I have for you about it today.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, Chris.
All right, next we have Margie Dissinger. Margie, you're unmuted.
Thank you. My church currently has the membership and the contributions module, and I do all the expense and writing of the checks and that, and we don't have the accounting module, and I'm trying to convince certain members of the church that we should get the accounting module.
Sure.
And hearing about the Engage now too, that would be very helpful. Mm-hmm. So what is the best way to show them what the modules can do, and you know, just so we have some background and I can convince them?
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't mind my asking, how are you tracking the church finances now?
Right now, we've been using Quicken, which, you know, that's fine just for writing checks, but not for really, you know, all the background stuff.
Correct. Sure. So if you want to play with the CDM Plus accounting by yourself or on your own, you can absolutely do that. If you fire up just your CDM Plus that you have today, before you log in, you can go up to the File menu in the top left and go to the Setup Assistant, and that's going to take you back to the setup screen that you had whenever you first put CDM Plus on your computer. As you click through here, there's an option that lets you try the demo.
Oh,
And
okay.
the demo has everything turned on. There's some sample data there. You're limited to 150 records for basically any record type. And once you log in, you can do all your demo. And then when you're finished and you quit back out, it's going to take you back to your regular CDM Plus database. So it's a good way to just go and play with the software. The other thing you could do is if you go to our knowledge base site, which is the kb.cdmplus.com, and you can get here if you're in CDM Plus, and if you go under the help menu at the very top to browse manuals, there's a section here for videos. And I can click through a few, but eventually there's going to be some that kind of give you, there's a webinar we did sort of about intro to accounting. And it's a recorded webinar. You can get some idea. Like, so here's using accounts payable. So you can see, for example, you know, how you actually go about doing cutting checks and payables and so on. Here's this getting started with accounting. There's some here in payroll. So you can watch these recorded webinars that just kind of talk you through how the product works. You can also absolutely call our sales team. They are more than happy to talk about adding a module like that. What I would say is probably find something that might be a sticking point, or something that takes a little more time than you'd like. And let's see if CDM Plus accounting can't smooth that out. You know, maybe it's running a monthly comparison report to look at your budget versus your actual expenditures. Maybe it's being able to easily post your contributions and not have to do double entry. Same thing with the online giving. So you can find some of those pressure points in how you're doing things now. Seek out ways that adding accounting is going to help with that, and then it becomes a very relatable argument to say, or persuasion, we'll say, you know, here's, you know, accounting would absolutely help with this.
And then, I mean, can I track things like investments and things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it's full featured fund accounting, double entry. You can track all your investments, mortgage, loans, capital expenditures, all your equity accounts. You can do all your budgeting, whether that's for the full year, or you can make it seasonal. You can do budget comparisons to draw your new budget together. And of course, all the payables and so on. I don't know if we'll get into this much, but I've actually just recently entered beta testing on our mobile receipt feature, which allows you to use CDM Plus Mobile on your phone or a tablet and actually snap a picture of a receipt and send it directly into accounts payable. So if you have someone with a church credit card or someone who needs a reimbursement, you can digitize the whole process, and you can add that on as many devices as you'd like. That should be live for everybody. Depending on how the beta testing goes, I would think in a month or two. And if you're interested in trying it today, just drop in the chat your name and email address, and we'll follow up.
Okay, well, I actually typed the actual question several chats later, so you can ignore that one then.
Okay, good deal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's see. Our next question is going to come from Lisa Osborne. Lisa, you're unmuted.
Yes, hi. I have a preschool parent that made a payment online at the beginning of March, and she did it through Engage. She has a receipt. She actually can see where the payment came through on her credit card. And I can see where the payment was made on Web Ministry Tools, but I do not see it on the income side on CDM. I have looked through every day from when she made the payment through yesterday, and I cannot find that payment anywhere.
Okay. Do you normally use the deposit processing window?
I don't have access to that. That is another lady in the office.
Okay.
She looked through it as well when we were in the, we are only going into the office one day a week right now.
Okay.
And she looked through it on Monday and she didn't see it either.
Are you looking in the contributions to see where that is?
Yes, she does, but I just look on the accounting side.
Gotcha.
She looked as well and she didn't see it. She said she didn't see that payment either.
Okay, gotcha. So would you or could you, if you talk to this parent, maybe get a copy of the email that would have one of those really long transaction numbers on it? Perfect.
Yep, she sent that to me.
Okay, so what you want to do is if you'll forward that to support, which is support@cdmplus.com, and say, you know, we've got this transaction came through, but we can't find it in CDM Plus. Can you help us find it? That way we'll dig into it and help you locate where that went.
Okay, what was the email again? Support at?
It is support, SUPPORT, @cdmplus.com. Or if you're in CDM Plus and you go under that help menu at the top, you can go down here and choose email tech support, and that'll open up a new email.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see, our next question is going to come from Mary Hagan. And Mary, you're unmuted.
Hey, Mary.
Hey, Alex. Hey, Margie, you should definitely go to accounting.
I wasn't gonna say, you know, we can pull a LeVar Burton reading Rainbow. You don't have to take my word for it, but there's probably a person or two on here that might say a good thing about CDM Plus accounting.
I've used it since 1985. You should definitely go for it. Hey, my question is in contributions on the update contribution history.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me like as soon as I created the new history and press save, it would just automatically start doing that, and it didn't. So I don't know what's happening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can tell you what here real quick. We can just give that a shot. So you're under program contributions and update history.
Update history, yep.
Okay. Looks like I got one through. So let's go ahead and add one for maybe January 2020. Okay. And so you're saying when you click save, is it not adding a new line here with the?
It adds the line, but it doesn't put any history. There's no contributions in that history.
Okay, and are you using like the giving history report or looking at the history tab on a giving unit record to see that?
I'm looking at the history tab on a giving unit record.
Okay, gotcha. Tell you what, if you maybe have the specific giving unit code, just the name of who that is, if you want to email that over to support, or do you happen to have that code handy?
I know it. It's mine, 1124.
Okay. Terry, are you listening?
I was
Terry probably knew it was me.
Terry's listening and writing. Okay, so Terry, if you'd make a note there, we need to check the giving history for Mary Hagan's giver and see what's going on. So we'll dig into that and let you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You'll be hearing from me, Mary.
Thanks, Terry. Sounded like a threat.
Never.
All right.
Okay. Our next question is going to come from Carolyn Fitzer. Carolyn, you should be unmuted.
Okay. I've got two questions I didn't type in that I'll ask first. I ran my first direct deposit for payroll processing today. And in looking at whether the employees will get a printout of their check stub, I pulled it up in Engage to see what's there. And I noticed that the information about time off accrued for personal or vacation does not appear on the Engage version of the check stub.
Right.
Is that something that can be added?
Yes. So a couple of things. So for one, do you know how to generate check stubs from the payroll direct deposit window out of CDM Plus?
Yes, I do. I
Okay.
was just going to give employees the option to use
Yeah,
Engage, and I
use
wanted to
Engage,
make
exactly.
sure that would be there.
Yeah, so we have a that request comes up fairly frequently, and in fact from our own employees, because we use CDM Plus to do payroll at Saran, and they want to know where their balances are. I expect that that's going to be functionality that'll be available as people update to CDM Plus 11.1, which is coming out this fall. Part of it is that we actually have an overhauled system for tracking time off. It's a lot smarter about resetting dates when people's hiring anniversary hits, fixes some of the clunkiness that you see in the current system. And this is a piece of software that we developed for, it's a function and a piece of software that we have that we actually work with another company that sells software for auto dealerships, believe it or not. So we developed a payroll product that they use, and we built this time off. It's called time off plans. So you create a plan for time off, and you've got rules for how often it accrues and so on. We built that for this DB payroll project a couple of years ago, and it's really pretty solid. And the intent is actually to port what's in CDM Plus now to that system. Once we have that system in place, I think that's what we'll actually have Engage list. So I think that's the strategy at this point. So I'll say sometime in this year we'll be adding that functionality.
Okay, I currently manually do the accruals and plug them in, because years ago I attempted to use CDM and it didn't jive with our payroll timing.
Right, and that's a lot of where the system that's there, which was designed a fair time ago, has some definite limitations. For one, good luck trying to reset everything to like a zero balance at the start of the year. This new system absolutely handles that. So that's what we'll be bringing into CDM Plus 11.1, and that's where Engage will pull its data.
Okay. The other question that came up today, we started with the Engage Giving also.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found with the email that gets sent out, the thank you for your gift to the giver, it's not sure how CDM is deciding who to send that to, because like in my household, it went to my husband's work email.
Gotcha.
And it seems that if I'm the one that created the Engage account and it's all driven on my email, why it's randomly picking one of the other emails.
Yeah, definitely.
Acknowledge it.
So I think what I can do here, let me try this. See if I can get online giving to work. Like I said,
and then it also sends it to me, the staff person, for everybody.
Right.
I've been working with Terry on that one.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question is, when somebody makes a donation or gift and Engage, which email address is Engage going to use? Because you very often may have, this is what I was worried about. Don't know if we've got a good secondary test database. I can kind of show you, I think, how this works. Essentially what you're going to do is log in. They're going to log into Engage and go to Giving. And under their profile, I think is what it's called, or is it account, you can choose which gift to use. I've got this set up here. Let me see if I can actually just sort of create an account. I don't know if I have my online giving. Again, I'm sorry, I don't have this demo set up. Let's see. Yeah, if you can, let's see if I can get logged in here, or if I might have a good screenshot for that. It's kind of why I've been leaning on some of these screenshots. basically, if you go into giving, which I don't know if we've got a good screenshot here for sort of their account settings. Other engage giving options. Yeah. So once you log into Engage, you've got this, I don't know if I can make this much bigger. There's a menu in the top right-hand corner, kind of predictable spot for a menu that lets you switch between different functions of the app. What you want to do is actually go under that menu, and I think this is a little older. There's an option there for your account, basically, or your preferences. And that's going to have a list of all the email addresses that are linked to your giver, and you choose which one you want to be the primary. You can do that.
Did it prompt me for that and I just forgot it at the time I created the account? Because I did go in and fix it now.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like it asked me which email should we use, because it seems logical that it's using the email that I provided
right,
to link to the giving record.
Yeah, definitely. If they are creating a new account, it's going to use that email. If they're using an existing, if they're basically linking into an existing giving unit, it's going to actually, I think it actually looks to see if you've got a preferred email set up for doing an email statement, which is over on
and
there.
We don't have that in the system.
So
it seemed like it was in the couple of scenarios that I'm aware of, it grabbed the head of household's individual email address, even if they weren't the one doing it.
Right. So it's going to go and look at that giving unit, and it'll go to basically the individuals that are linked to it and the address that's linked to it, and it'll try to pick. In that case, I think it'll try to pick the first email. But you can adjust that by logging into Engage and going under your account settings.
Okay, so you can't change that default to use the person that created the giving account?
So part of that comes down to, yeah, if they create a full-blown account, it will use that email. So the question is, they already were in the system, they had an email. So I guess so what you're suggesting is they've got a giving unit, they've got multiple individuals linked to it with different emails. The first time somebody logs into Engage, we should use an email link to that individual as the...
That would be logical.
Okay. Yeah. Terry, did you catch that?
Yes, sort of.
Okay. So
I had to step away, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Joe can make this switch around. So basically the scenario is going to be, they are, somebody logs into Engage and they're linked to a giving unit, and that giving unit does not yet have a default email address. We should pick an email address that is linked to the individual logging in. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Okay, and the question I have that's going to come up later, but then you can just quit hearing from me.
No
for
problem.
the Engage giving, when you were talking earlier about the credit card versus the bank account, is there a reason that the tab on the left is credit card and it defaults to that, and a lot of people just assume you're looking for a credit card only? Could the bank account be the default?
When you're
and the credit card be a separate, flip-flop those two tabs?
When you're making the gift and Engage, you mean?
Right.
Yeah. So
some people just went right in that and they're like, oh, I didn't know I could use my bank account.
Right. I think part of that may be because, in my wallet, I've got my credit cards. I don't have my bank account and routing number on me generally. I think it was probably the reason we decided to do that some years back. If you were to, for example, turn off the ability to accept credit cards, the only option would be a bank account.
Well, we didn't want to turn it off. We just didn't want it to be the first response.
To have it be a default. Okay, that's a good idea. Terry, can we put up a suggestion for that?
Sorry about that. I didn't catch that one. Sorry.
Basically, the idea would be that we default the payment or the entry method on a new engaged gift to a bank account instead of a credit card. Does that make sense?
Oh, so we just show that tab rather than the credit card tab.
Right.
Okay.
Where are you changing that?
We'll put a suggestion down for it. Yeah.
I think she's looking for you to show her where, like on your screen.
Oh, gotcha. Sure. So let's see here. Happen to know that's a valid slug. And they don't have giving. Let's see. Oops, I'm sorry. I think I just stopped sharing my screen. Let me bring that back. Okay. Actually, let's try Kings River. Chris Kimber there. So when I go to make a gift and engage, and I want to do $50 to tithe, for example, continuous guest, and we'll just skip that part here. The question is, instead of having this be credit card, it would default to bank account. So this is where you toggle it. So the suggestion is make it bank account by default.
That is what I'm saying.
Yep.
I think if people want a credit card, they're going to look for that as the option.
Sure. When we designed Engage, which is really our second generation online giving, the intent was to make the barrier to making a gift as low as possible. And again, assuming that everyone has a credit card on them and might not have an account or routing number, that's where we defaulted to that credit card. It does make sense to make maybe that option a little more obvious, or give you the choice for it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. The next question comes from Betsy Gibson. And Betsy, you should be unmuted.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Betsy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, still, we're new, relatively new to contributions and membership, although we've been using accounting for 20 years. And so I highly recommend accounting.
Great.
We've been doing payroll for 5, but the membership and contributions is still very unfamiliar for me in a lot of ways. So my main question right now is, how do I redirect contribution histories from a deceased spouse to a surviving spouse?
Yeah. Gotcha. So this is where in CDM Plus, we have this concept of a giving unit. Right. So you're going to have one of those per essentially, whatever person or set of persons is going to be receipted together. So if you had a couple that was giving together and there's one giving unit and one of them passes away, there's really not much to do other than rename that giving unit to just the surviving person, because all the gifts are there. If they were giving separately and they had independent giving units, what you can do is use a process to transfer the gifts from the deceased individual's unit to the surviving individual's unit.
Okay.
And essentially to do that, there's the KB manual has a nice section on how to transfer gifts, but you're going to jump in to their contributions, and you could do all of them, or you could just select the ones for this year. But you select one or more of them here, and there's a transfer button that'll show up. Not sure why mine isn't showing up over here. So here's my transfer here that I can then choose.
Okay.
And that'll move those over to the other giving. You click this and then pick the one who survives.
Okay. But so basically you're saying I don't need to do anything other than to rename the giving unit if we've been recording all gifts under one giving unit code.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Honestly, if they were giving separately, I don't know. I'm not sure how that would work legally in the sense of receiving. I mean, I guess it is the person who passed away. You might still want that independently for filing their final tax return.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you bring Rita Tetzloff back? She got kicked out of the meeting. She thinks she's in the waiting room.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. I will. I'll admit it right now. I had a few in there, and I was just waiting to see if they were coming in and out. She should be joining right now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Linda. I got back in.
Great.
Did you ask the question about the giving indefinitely?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if we had to wait till you were up or I could just ask it.
Sure.
Was it our turn again?
Might as well just do it and move it out. I'm moving down. A lot of people have dropped off, so I'm scrolling down.
Yeah.
Okay, we wanted to know about giving indefinitely, how we can roll over gifts to the newest pledge year that's coming up in July.
Yeah, actually, for that, which we do see in definitely year end. But yeah, if you're doing a fiscal year and you want to roll that over, there is essentially a section here for changing and canceling gifts. And there's a section that says updating recurring gifts for New Year's giving funds. Essentially, you can ask people to go online, and you've got three options. You can notify them to do it just one by one, which is that's a big ask. You could go and actually, hang on, let me grab a screenshot because that's stale. You can update these things now. All right, that's good. You can go in and essentially transfer those yourself. Really the easiest thing, and we do this pretty commonly during at year end. Just send us an email and say any recurring giving that's in this fund, move to this fund. We do have an enhancement request up to give you a tool to do that, just auto roll people over. So right now you want to do one of those three options.
Okay, fantastic.
Easiest way is just send us an email, and we've got a nice little internal procedure. And in case, and don't worry, in case you don't get around to it until a few days later and some gifts have gone through, it's no problem for us to move gifts that have already fired to the new fund.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. Looks like we have Margie is next. Margie, you should be unmuted, or hopefully. Margie is not unmuting for some reason. There we go.
That's the one I said where I had typed my question later, and you could skip.
I was waiting to hit one of those. All right, okay. Sorry about that.
I just don't want to miss anybody.
Yeah, that's right. All right, thanks, Marge. All right, let's go to Sabrina. We'll wait for her to unmute here. All right, Sabrina, there you go.
Okay. My question's been answered. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, Sabrina. How's it going down
there? Good. How about you?
Doing all right. Waiting for that weather to turn back up, though.
I know that's right.
All right. Let's go to Elaine. You are unmuted.
I have a question about email.
Mm-hmm.
We've had CDM for a while, and we're finally getting around to trying to use it. And I noticed that I should be able to send emails, but I'm not sure how that works. Could you just explain the email function a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So emails in CDM Plus are actually generated kind of like a report. And so what you'll want to do is if you go into the reports menu, generally you're going to email people. You can do emails targeting folks who gave or other areas, but we'll just assume if you want to do an email blast to your congregation. So you're going to go under membership reports, and it's under the notices here. With emails, you got a couple of options. You can sort of do just a fully generic email, or you can embed fields to personalize it or add in some specific information. So your choice here between whether it's kind of address or individual is somewhat who's going to receive these emails. Generally, you're going to want to choose individual emails if you just want that to go personalized to somebody. If you were, say, emailing everybody that was part of a particular small group, that's a good way to do it. If you just want to blast, sort of one per household across the entire congregation, you can do the address emails. But here under individual emails, you're going to get kind of the standard report interface. You'll choose, who you'd like to receive the email here, but then you'll have this notice option. And under here, this is where you can actually click on select and add, and you can create multiple notices. You could have sort of your standard, reminder about an event, or, here's a link to this week's recorded service or whatever you might like. So you basically set up a notice here, and then when you go to change, you get sort of a full bore editor where you can style and embed database fields and so on, and that's going to that's basically where you draft the content of the email. The other section you want to look at here is this more options button, and this is where you can set the sender's name that you've got and the address. You'll see a preview here of everyone that's going to receive that email. You can put your subject. You can send a test right here. The one thing that you'll want to make sure you've got, which some folks get stuck on, is what's called an SMTP account. That's a particular kind of server that you use to send email. If you're on hosting, and if you're not, I'll just plug it. It's 6 months for free right now. You should totally try it out. But if you're on hosting, we can provide an SMTP account for you at no cost. If not, you might need to check with whoever administers your email right now to get that set up. So once you have this together, you basically hit save, and then when you click send email, you're going to get a nice preview here that shows you who all is going to receive that email. That come through. So here's the addresses and so on. You can add some staff addresses, a privacy notice, and when you click send, that'll just send the email on out to everybody. And you can then go back to their individual record, and there's a tab for sent notices, and you'll see that you've sent that notice or a record that they received that email.
So what email address does it send these messages from?
Sure. That's where when you're crafting this email, and it can be different for each notice. So if you need one from youth and one from the main office, that's just fine, or one to come directly from one of the clergy or staff. But when you click more options here, you're going to see the sender's name and the sender's address, and that's the address that will be in the from line on that email.
Okay. So do I just type in the email address that I want to use?
Yes, yes. So for one, and what you can do is you can send a test message here just to make sure that works and see how it looks. If there's a missing SMTP server or something like that, you'll get a notice. If you need some help setting up the SMTP and you're not quite sure how to do that, definitely give our support team a call.
Okay.
Again, if you're on hosting, we can set up an SMTP account for you. That's just included with your hosting. There's no extra charge for it. And that generally solves that.
The hosting, hosting means that our data is being stored on your server, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That's the hosting.
Yep.
So, okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let's see. Mary came up again. Mary, did we answer all your questions? I muted you, by the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to know if we were going to get a transcript of the webinar today.
Yes. I'm not sure about a transcript. That would be kind of a fun project. But this recording, we'll post this recording
Okay.
up for you all to go back and scroll through and find where I answered a particular question or watch it again.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see. Next, we have Rod. Let me unmute you, Rod, here.
Is that Rod Enos down?
It is. Yes, you're on the air, Rod.
Thanks for taking my question. My question is about taking attendance, and I'd asked a person about this 6 months ago, and they said they thought it was going to be a feature. I don't see a way of taking off the attendance roster anybody that's listed as an individual. No way to filter that. Is there a way to filter inactive members?
So are you taking attendance through mobile, or are you printing out one of the attendance reports in CDM Plus?
Through mobile.
Through mobile, okay. So if you're in CDM Plus, the easiest thing to do there, and you wouldn't be having that, would you happen to be asking about visitors who are marked inactive?
No, just regular people. Yeah.
That's fine, because there was a change that came through a couple months ago about inactive visitors. So if you go into CDM Plus on your computer and go under Preferences to CDM Plus System and click on Membership and Attendance, at the top here, there's an option for attendance. And what you can do is you can choose what membership statuses here should be included. So if you just choose inactive, anyone who's marked deceased or inactive won't be available for taking attendance. Okay. And then this is true as well for these other options here as well, here for classes. And then if they happen to be marked do not print, we exclude them automatically.
Okay, great. Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see. We have Naomi Hale. Should be unmuted, Naomi. Are you there? Okay, we'll come back. Let's see. Let's move down to Vicky. Well, let's see. Moving. Holton. All right, we've got Vicky at Holton Acres. You're unmuted.
Hi, thank you. Question regarding the online giving, which you have addressed somewhat before as far as combining the records, the online giving record with the CDM record. There are multiple steps to do that, as you have referenced to. But I have combined a couple of them, but what I'm finding is the ones that I have combined, their online giving account that they set up with their CDM account, so they have one giving unit record. But then when they go to do the online giving the next time, they've told me that they have to reset it up again. And what you were referring to before, was it that you're coming up with a simpler process of combining the two?
Absolutely.
Good.
When they say they have to set it up again, do you know if they mean that their username and password isn't being recognized anymore?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that is something that you could solve fairly easily today. If it's just a case of after you merge them, they have to basically set up username and password. If you're running into that, what you'll want to do is sort of and the guide Terry's putting together walks you right through this. But essentially, you'll want to go to their individual record. All the logins in Engage are based on individuals. And if they've created a new individual and you're saying, okay, you've already got one over here, before you delete that new individual, you'll need to make sure that their online credentials, which is their name and password, are going to get transferred to whatever their final individual is. So it could be, if you're currently clearing those in order to delete the individual, you want to transfer those over. Now, if what they mean by setting it up again is that it hasn't remembered their saved payment method, then that's something that the tool we're building will definitely help with. In the meantime, if you you could drop us an email and say, I've got these two giving units, here's the old one, here's the new one, and we've got an internal procedure we can use to merge those and save that account. That's something you have to do currently if they have a recurring gift set up. But like I said, Terry's putting a guide together that will kind of walk you through all the nuts and bolts of this. And then we are, like I said, definitely building a tool to just sort of pick two people and say merge, and off it goes.
Okay, and you said that's going to be available when?
The merge tool I expect is going to be, it'll be available in one of the CDM Plus 11.1 early adopter releases, but we'll make an announcement when that's available. I don't have a firm ETA on it. I would love to see this and expect it to be out before the end of May.
Okay, and when it is out, then you will tell us how we access this or where we go to access that. Okay.
Yes, we'll make a big deal about it.
Good. Okay, thank
nice
you.
documentation on how to do it and everything, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next we have Amy. Amy, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, I have a question about contribution records. If a contribution is marked non-tax deductible, and you want to go back into a closed period, I want to know if there's a way to unmark it. Like in January, when people get their contribution statements and they're like, oh, that should have been tax deductible. There's not a way to do it without opening the periods.
Currently there's not, but I happen to know for sure there is a story to do that. Terry, can you make a note to mark that story as escalated? We really need to just address that.
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like we do for for 1099s. There's a toggle.
Exactly. I was almost going to say, you know, we let you do that for the 1099 setting, but not tax deductible. Yeah, that's really not intentional one way or the other. It's just an oversight, and we need to get that fixed. So yeah, we'll get on that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Next we have Peg Harmeling. Can you hear us, Peg?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Hi, Peg.
Hi, we're pretty new to this. And so my questions are pretty simple, I hope.
Sure.
I did my first contribution statements for the first quarter yesterday and today. And on our few folks that do not have email, I printed out statements. Is there an easy way to quickly adjust page ending where it doesn't abruptly end in the middle of a contribution or a sentence? What I did was went back and tinkered with the margins, but is there some sort of code that would detect?
Yeah, so you're probably, whether you're doing contribution statements or the line option, you know, there's some settings at the top here where you can sort of adjust where things show at the top, and then you've got the overall page set up for the height and so on. You know, the system should be pretty smart about knowing if it needs to break to a new page cleanly or not. But it could be that you've got just your particular data in that instance of how many there are and where the breaks hit. It's not doing that as well as it could. Would you be able to print maybe a PDF of the one that's problematic and send it in to us, and we can look at fixing that?
Sure. What I did was actually adjusted the bottom margin up, but you know, if I had a large number of ones that I printed that would be pretty inconvenient to
Yeah.
look at each one individually and do that. So I did fix that statement, but I'll go back and change it to the way to show you how it broke.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you could sort of send us a copy of that PDF, and then if you're comfortable doing screenshots, if we get screenshots of sort of what your page setup settings were and so on. If not, call our support team and say, hey, I was on the webinar and my statements aren't printing quite right. Can you get on screen sharing and take a look? And they'll capture all that detail for you, and we'll get it sent over to the developers.
I can do a screenshot of that, yes.
Perfect, great.
Okay. And then the two other ones is I'm working in membership and I'm wanting to pull in pictures of our members.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using what was supplied from our last directory.
Okay.
They're like 700 or 800 KB.
Okay.
Is that an unusually large? Do I need to make those smaller, I guess is what I'm trying to say, so that it doesn't slow down the system?
Gotcha. Yeah, no, you don't need to worry about that too much. I mean, if you're trying to load 20 or 30 megabyte images, that might be an issue. But 700-800K, even a couple megs, is not going to be a problem. The system mostly ignores the photos unless you actually click this photos tab. So while you're on the name tab and doing some work, it's not having to download that data. One thing I can tell you is that we've been working on a number of enhancements to speed up Engage, especially on the member side. We had a client contact us and say, hey, I'm trying to get this going for my congregation. It's great, but it's really slow. And we took a look at what all's going on and found a number of cases we can improve things. And one of them is the photos. So actually, I would expect it's Thursday at this point, it'll probably be next week when this goes out, but the system will automatically resize and send optimized photos when they're browsing on Engage, for example. So it won't even cause a slowdown there.
Great, thank you. And then one last question is, I've run across a couple instances, and like I said, I'm new on this, so when you don't know what you're doing, you won't know when to quit. And I've started doing a printing and realized this is probably not what I want because it's taking a very long time. And it tells me that I can cancel the printing by hitting Control Break. But for the life of me, I've not been able to find a break key on either my laptop or my desktop.
Sure, that's a good question. The Control Break, sort of that stop key functionality is technically exposed through the tool we use to build CDM Plus. Wow, you totally stumped me because I looked this up some years ago because nobody's got a break key anyway. It's like it's what, next to the print screen key.
Yes.
So Terry, do you happen to know? I feel like there is a key you can hit that will basically simulate a break, right?
It's different for every laptop and keyboard.
Okay.
If you have a standard keyboard that has the arrow keys in the middle, and those, usually it's the one, like you said, it's the one next to the print screen, which would be the middle, the top middle, I believe.
What if you would, if you could sort of, if you can look at maybe what model computer you have. Are you working on a laptop?
I have it loaded on my personal laptop, which is an older Toshiba.
Okay.
And also on the church office desktop, which is a Dell.
And there's not a break key. Terry, that's a really good question. Can you make a note of that? We need to research and maybe provide a better way.
I've tried, the standard like escape and control insert and control delete and all different combinations. And
I'll take a look.
Yeah. Let's research that and we'll get back to you. Can you put Peg's name with that so we can follow up with her?
Sure. What's your last name? What's your last name, Peg?
Harmeling.
Okay, Gotcha.
All right. Any other questions, Peg?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay. We're going to go to Kim. Kim, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I've got two questions. One is, do you have a promotional kind of an instruction sheet for, you know, the Engage app? I'm going to try and roll it out next week for my congregation. So we want something simple. I do have a rather lengthy instructions for how to get it into your mobile phone, but my goal is that even people on computers should really have this.
Sure, definitely. So one thing I point you to is on this documentation, and Chris, this might be a good time to put that link into the chat again. There is a section for publishing and promoting Engage Giving. And there's some videos here which are very good. Now we've actually, and there's some more verbose written documentation. Now, Chris and I actually had some conversations a couple weeks ago about this exact topic, in terms of we had somebody contact us through our Facebook page asking, do you have a one-page guide or something like that? Can you give me sort of just a quick description of what you would want that page, or what you'd want those instructions to kind of tell people? Is just how to get started?
Yes, how to get it onto your computer as a directory that they can access multiple times. And then secondly would be the giving options, that makes it easy to give online.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're looking for a bit of a promotional piece to say, this is everything you can do with this tool. You should definitely try it out, and here's where you go.
And we can get it on your computer or phone, you know, just contact us and I can get whichever directions they need sent to them. But it's more of a promotional piece, really.
Definitely. Hey, Chris, does that feel like something you could put together?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. Why don't you make a note of Kim's name and let's work something up and we'll get it to you.
Great.
Chris is pretty quick, so I think we could, you probably get something by early next week, don't you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think so.
Definitely. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Who's next?
I just muted myself there. All right. Let's see if Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, guys. I'm learning a lot. One of the objectives of this conference or this webinar was for me to learn some terms. I've never logged on to CDM, so when we get done with it, I think I'm gonna have to call support and say, how do I instruct my treasurer to go on and determine what version we have, what products we have installed, and who is the admin, because I'm not sure the treasurer's going to know how to do all that.
Okay, sure. So let me give you a couple of resources or things you can do to get started. First, hopefully, if they don't have CDM Plus installed on their computer and connected to your data, definitely give support a call. We can kind of help you get connected. But we'll assume that you could theoretically fire up CDM Plus and log in. So what I'd recommend you do is open CDM Plus, but don't log in quite yet. Before you log in, if you go, this will be on the CDM Plus menu on a Mac, and under Windows, it's right under File. You want to look for the About CDM Plus option. And there's a couple of key pieces of information here that you asked for. If you look under System Information at the top, you're going to see what version you have. So if you're running 11.0.3, that means you're on the current version. If you've got something older, you'll see that listed there, and you can do an update. So that'll help you find the version that you're on. Also, if you click this serialization, this will give you sort of a rundown of all the different packages or programs in CDM Plus that you own.
Yes, that's exactly what I need. Do I have to go into the church and log on to the Windows machine there? There's no way to do that from home, I guess, is there?
If you, what church are you with?
Johnson City Alliance Church. Johnson City, Tennessee.
And if I recall correctly, you all just got on hosting, maybe.
And
yeah, you're hosted.
A lot of new things.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just got
So yeah, well, for one, I can tell you you're running 11.0.2. I just checked your hosted data there.
Cool.
What I would do is if you can maybe just drop us an email, just go to the email support@cdmplus.com.
Okay.
And say, I need to get connected to our data. Can you send me those instructions? We've got an email that says exactly how to install CDM Plus on your home computer and connect in. So you don't need to go to the church. And that's going to get you right to where you can get to this window.
Wonderful. Because I'm doing a lot of reading, watch a lot of videos, but I can't try anything. So I'll do that as soon as we hang up here.
Excellent. Sounds good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Next we have Shelley. Shelley, can you hear us?
Yes.
Hi, Shelley.
Hi. You were talking earlier about photos and how the photos slowed down. I think it was the mobile. We had a problem. We had a problem. We had our photos from our directory into our CDM, and then we did our check-in, and that very next week it just slowed our check-in down to a halt. Has that been fixed? Because I've since just taken all the photos out.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. So are you doing check-in on mobile?
We're,
Or
yes.
you have CDM Plus running like on a Windows computer or a Mac computer?
Mac and iPads.
Okay, so was it slowing down on the iPads?
I don't remember which one.
Okay.
I feel like the whole system was slow.
Yeah, the whole thing was slowing down, sure. So this is a really good point. The optimization I was mentioning is actually for Engage when you go into go to a directory or search a group. We list everyone's photos there. However, that same functionality is used to actually access photos in mobile. So Terry, can you make a note to check with Joe and Malachi and make sure that mobile is going to use those optimized photos?
All right.
Okay. That, or if you just want to make a note and tell me about it later, I can talk to them. That is definitely going to something that I expect will help on the mobile side. On the desktop side, I can see where, because we do use the photos pretty prominently there, that you could slow things down. As I was talking with our developers, Joe in particular, who's working on this optimization, we've got a story that's been out there for a little while, which is story being an enhancer request to allow us to essentially, for one, store multiple photos per individual address, which would be nice. But with that same functionality, actually have sort of cached thumbnails, which would definitely speed things up. And when I was talking with Joe, I said, we might want to go ahead and just start building that this summer and put it in 11.1, which would be a smarter way to do this optimization. This would be a really good reason to do that. So right now, yes, I can see where if you put extremely large photos in, that might slow some things down. But let's give us a little time to work on that. Well, that shouldn't be a concern. It is, but it shouldn't be. We'll see if we can't overhaul how those photos are stored to speed that up a bit.
Okay, so I should wait to put those back in until that process.
Yeah. What you could do if if you've got some downtime, or if you want to go ahead and just do the storage now, if you want to create a user field for photo, just sort of make it a raw data type and load the photos in there, then once we've sort of overhauled the photos, you could contact, just drop us an email and say, I've got all my photos stored here under user fields. Could you move them to the photos tab? And we can just relocate them in the system for you.
Okay. And then earlier in a couple questions ago, Gal asked about a promotional piece for her Engage, for her congregation.
Yes.
Could you make that promotional piece public when you get it written up? That would be awesome.
Yeah, and it'll be right on the page for publishing and promoting Engage Giving. Okay. And I think for one, when we get that together, we could maybe do an e-blast about it, but Chris, that might be a nice thing for us to just highlight on Facebook or on the blog.
Oh yeah, we'll get it out in front of everybody's
definitely.
eyes.
Yeah, and if there's anything else like that, we kind of struggled a little bit with, okay, what exactly are people needing? And the question we got, which this has come up before, was from, like I said, somebody contacted us on Facebook, and they were more, I think, asking, do you already have something before I build it? And I don't know if we were able to follow up and get a copy of whatever they built. I want to say, I think Mary Hagan, it might be you, had made a Pew card for how to use Engage. And we've got a copy of that sort of on the story to build something like this. So yeah, what we need to know is kind of what information or what are you trying, what's your goal with this piece, and we can definitely create it and make it available here. So a promotion in terms of why you should use it and everything, what you can do, I get that. Chris gets that. We'll definitely build that.
Okay, and then my last question was just, I want to echo, whenever you could get that tool together for the double contribution records, that would be great too.
Yes, absolutely. That's I think the very next thing the developers will be working on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, it's actually a question from Daryl Gutierrez, but he does not have a microphone, so I'm just going to read it real quick.
Oh, okay. Hey, Daryl.
He said, it's for Engage, so can you text more than one giving code in the same text message?
Currently, no. Right now, you just get one fund per text. One thing that you might try, which I don't think I've got quite set up here, we added a feature last fall where if you text help or menu to that number, you'll get back a list of funds, and then you can just reference them by number. So you don't have to type out, giving or love or offering or whatever the code is you've set up. Part of the reason we don't do that is because you would have to sort of define a pretty strict standard. So it'd be code, amount, space, code, amount. We could definitely teach the system how to do that. Is that sort of what you had in mind in terms of, ties space 100, mission space 50? If you want to put in the chat there. I said I'm very intentionally staying out of the chat or I'll get distracted. That might be one way for us to do it.
Yeah. See if he answers real quick.
That's all right. But yeah, currently there's not, but that would be something we could look to add.
Okay. All right. Next we have Peggy. Peggy, can you hear us?
I can.
Hi, Peggy.
Hi. Hey, listen, in membership under education, I'm trying to pull a report, and I had talked to your tech, and they weren't able to figure it out either. But I have education, and then underneath that, training and development, and I need to be able to pull a report with the information out of training and development, and doesn't seem to be any place.
Gotcha. I remember, I want to say maybe you were talking with Rosalind, and I think she was asking about this, or it could have been Jen. I think it was in the middle of something. She asked me if there was a way to get that. And I want to say, are you with one of the regional offices?
I am.
Okay. Are you at the Disciples office?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you been able to get this out on a report before?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't like a difference between it was on this report and it's broken versus now we need to get that out. Do you have a sample of kind of what you want on this report?
I can provide that for you, sure.
Yeah, that would be really handy. I know there's a story for this, but I'll tell you what, if you want to, or if you can, put together just a, I need a report that's going to show ... And I'm not picturing that right off the top of my head. I feel like there's a couple of columns on that education list, maybe date and
there's actually three columns.
Yeah. So one thing that would be handy is to know kind of how you would want those sort of rendered together.
Okay,
listed
yeah,
out.
because when it's not even showing up when you run a report in any of the information to poll.
Yeah.
Education is, but not that second layer.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. If you could put together a sort of spec, if you will, of what you would need and email that in, I'll see if we can't get that going. Do you need this pretty quickly?
No, it's
Okay.
what it is that it's a requirement of our clergy to have certain classes, and since I'm already entering it into this, it only makes sense to be able to pull from it, right?
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you could put that together and email it over, we'll definitely get that added.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, let's go to.
And Terry, make sure you would make a note of that story.
I've already.
Who should I send that to?
You can have it. Send it to me.
Send it to Terry?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go over to Susan. Susan, can you hear us?
Yes, if I'm.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. I'm calling from the Christian Church in Kansas out of Topeka.
Mm-hmm.
We send notices occasionally. When I've been given the document, maybe as a Word document, to put in the message body, I'm not able to cut and paste it. I have to re-enter it the whole document. Now, has that feature changed?
So you're not, yeah. So are you saying you can't copy from Word and paste it into CDM Plus, or?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Now I haven't tried to do that recently. I just figured it still didn't happen.
Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I've kind of watched your workflow, isn't that how you generally do the e-blast that we send?
Copy it from Word into, yes.
Okay. So I know that works. One thing I can tell you is we had a report of a bug where a particular Word document would send an email that rendered just fine on a desktop computer, but if you tried to view it on your phone, it would say the message has no content. And
yeah.
I saw the one of our developers was working on it. He actually looks like he had that fixed. I don't know if it's gone through testing yet, but he did fix that. The short of it is that you should absolutely be able to do that. So if you have a particular Word doc that's giving you some fits, copy and pasting in, if it's not anything proprietary, if you would send us a copy of that document, and then maybe just also indicate, I'm running Word on Windows or Mac, and if you can find it, what version, and we would treat that as a bug and get that fixed.
Does this also apply to Publisher? Should this apply to Publisher too?
I don't know.
That I've seen multiple issues with Publisher because Publisher doesn't use a really standard formatting backend.
Okay. I wanted to thank Peg for asking about control break. I've thought about that many times and going, I don't know where that is.
Okay, I never thought that's a
note
really
to
good
self.
point. Yeah, definitely
And
need to fix that.
I also wanted to comment on Steve C., I think, for being very brave to come onto this call without ever having gone into the CDM program. He's looking at a lot, that's for sure. And then one more comment, wondered if Terry needed a bigger piece of paper with all the notes he's been given to fix for us. Appreciate everybody and all
I'm
your
actually
help.
taking notes on my iPad, so I've got this infinite sheet of paper.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for all your help. I'm done. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay. I'm going to move over to Pam. Pam, can you hear us? Pam, are you there? Okay. I move on down. I move to Laura Phillips. Can you hear us, Laura?
I can, thank you.
Hi, Laura.
Hello. I was wondering about sending emails from within CDM Plus. We had tried to do that in the past and was told that we probably couldn't because we utilize Gmail, but the conversation about SMTP seemed to maybe contradict that, and so I was wondering if that's changed or
How we
would set that up too.
Yeah, the restriction there, so there is a particular sticking point with the SMTP hosting that we provide, and Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, and there's one other. Essentially Gmail and those others I mentioned, they don't let anyone send an email that says it's coming from gmail.com unless it goes through Gmail. So essentially if you use the SMTP hosting that we provide, you need to have a domain, mychurch.org or something like that. Does your church have a domain like that, like maybe for your website?
We do, and so our Gmail is through that. So I mean, like when I check my email, I go to Gmail,
right?
Or google.mail.com or whatever. But like my actual email address ends with our domain name.
Then you can totally use SMTP hosting, no problem.
Alex, I just looked it up. They're not. Are you from Oakland Park Christian Church?
No, I'm from Overland Park. O-V-E-R-L-A-N-D.
Okay, yes, it's in Overland Park. But we at Overland Park Christian Church.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're not on our SMTP service right now. So they're probably trying to send through using their other.
Are they hosted?
Yes, they are. So they could, they're actually SaaS users. So.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So what if Laura, if what you would do, what we need, just email support@cdmplus.com and say, I'd like the SMTP hosting, and we will be sending from, and we really just need the last part of your email, basically anything after the @ symbol.
Okay. And then is there, I mean, when I do that, will they log on and like do a screen share or something so that I could see how you set that up in CDM Plus, or could you go through that right now? Or
so with the SMTP hosting, you'll actually get an email back from us that says you've been set up and there's nothing you need to do. We take care of it for you on the back end. At that point, it's just you send the emails.
Okay, so I just go to that membership reports and notices like I saw you do earlier?
Yep.
Oh,
fantastic. It'll say Saran SMTP in that setting.
Oh, you just made my day.
Great.
This was so oh my gosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right.
All right, that was good. Let's see. Lisa, can you hear us?
Yes, but you answered my question. I asked it earlier. Thank you very much.
Oh, no worries. All right. Let's see here. We've got Jenny Duff. Can you hear us, Jenny?
I can.
Hi, Jenny.
Hello. So my question comes because we have a state church that will take care of all the churches in the state instead of just a single congregation.
Okay.
So I have Northern Ohio and Southern Ohio that have been merged together as one group. And with that, there are holes in the to lead pastors start date. So is there a way to pull a report that would allow us to see those start dates of the to lead pastors?
Yes, I believe you want the church position custom listing. And that is actually going to sort of give you one result per position. And you can put the start date as a column and what position, and then their name and the church's name on there as well.
So I've been able to pull a list similar to that, but it would just show me, let's say, senior pastor.
Right.
So there must be an additional drop down. There must be a star in there that I'm not seeing on the right that would allow me to choose a start date. Is that what I'm hearing?
I am 90% sure, and Terry, you might know this off the top of your head. that I would definitely go for the custom listing, so you can add whatever columns you need. And start date should definitely be a column on there.
Okay. So it's something that I just need to add.
Yeah. If you give me a quick second here, I can pop in and kind of show you where that is. Now, what that won't do is it won't show you people who don't have any position at all. So if you wanted to find those, I would do maybe like an individual custom listing, and you could use the related records to find people without a church position. If you want sort of a guide on how to do that, I'd say just email support, and we can kind of give you some instructions for that.
I've already gone through and I've been able to check those, and so I
Okay.
know that I've got all the people assigned to a senior pastor that should be.
Right.
So I'm good there. It's that start date that I'm just
Gotcha.
not getting.
Yeah. So this would be one, sorry, my permissions turned on here, where if you're under the regional reports and the listings, there's this church position custom listing and export. That's the one I'm thinking we might want to do.
Okay, I've been pulling the other one that is.
Like the individual custom listing?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you go
I see
here,
what you're saying.
yeah, when you go under the columns and go to add these columns, and actually, hey Terry, here's another note here. On this report, that should say church position, not group assignment.
Yep.
Note there. But it's going to be this date enrolled is going to be their start, and we'll also need to rename it on this report. But this actually right here, this exact setup that I've got, and I'll tell you what, I won't run this right now, but I'm pretty sure this is actually a copy of y'all's database. You can thank Jennifer Nelson over in support. She's like, well, I'm from Ohio and I know all the people there. Let's use a copy of theirs.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, so this basically, I don't know if you want to grab a screenshot right here, but that's pretty much what you want. Full name, position, date enrolled, and date de-enrolled, and that'll give you their name, whatever their position, and when they started and ended right there.
Okay. Reports, membership to listing and exports, and then it is
church
pastoral, custom listing and export. Got it. Okay. So I actually had 3 questions. I didn't know if that was something that I could ask now or if you wanted me to wait till.
No, that's fine. But I will say what I just heard you read back wasn't quite right. You should have a regional reports.
Okay, let me go there. Regional listing and exports. Oh, and then the church.
That's where it
from
is.
there.
Yeah. Because in 11 we moved all the regional to its own section. Yeah.
Okay. I got it then.
All right. So yeah, go ahead and ask your other questions.
So whenever I pull a label report, is there a way to dedupe that and to alphabetize the labels prior to printing them?
Sure. Are you running labels for individuals, like to mail all your pastors?
It's another person that's been running them, and I noticed that they are coming up as duplicates, and they're not in any type of order that I can see.
Gotcha.
So I think she's pulling them under membership and labels.
Okay. So if I'm under membership, and this, for those listening, this would apply for any version of CDM Plus, not just the regional versions. If you go under labels here and you can choose your, say, individual labels and envelopes, if you click report in the sidebar, first you've got this 1 per address check mark, and it'll let you say, do you want all the names? So if I choose this and say I've got Alex, Abby, and Ava Clay, instead of seeing 3 labels, I would see Alex, Abby, Ava Clay on 1. If I choose address name, it might say, you know, whatever your salutation is and so on there. Here under this sort order, this is where you can choose alphabetical, and that'll sort those alphabetically for you. So I'm thinking those are probably the settings you'll want to turn on.
I think so. I think that'll fix that, because if we pull a youth board and let's say a youth group that we want to send a group that has gone to camp, and we find that they're in there more than once.
Right.
Let's say you want to send a postcard saying, hey, don't forget to come to camp.
Right,
Except
exactly.
we're not coming to camp this year right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Yes.
And the rest will go to Jen at some point.
Okay.
We want to be able to attach documents to CDM as part of our ability to make everything electronic. So let's say I have an obituary for someone who has passed. Is there a way to attach that to their record so that if I want to pull that up, yes, I can see the date that they died, but can I put documents in there for future reference?
Yes.
Appointment to letters, obituaries, that sort of thing.
Yep.
I see Teresa Purvis
Yeah,
is on.
Teresa Purvis
just
is
did
on
that.
the call, and she's on that. And also, if you know anyone down in that Florida office, they are all about this. They've done a lot of it. Basically,
I might call them.
Yeah, the short answer, and again, this is true for any version of CDM Plus. If you want to store documents, photos, scans, anything like that, what you want to use is this User Fields tab. And User Fields lets you basically add an open-ended number of additional fields. Again, I don't know if I'm maybe in here or not. Sure, use Randy Clay. So when you go into user fields, you can create different types. And it looks like they've maybe done some here, but I could maybe do obituary. And when I type in this new type, it says, do you want to add it? And when I say yes, I can choose all these different types. So I could just store text, which would be, 1 word or, 5 pages worth, or a date or a number value. But this raw data right here lets you store files. So I basically hit OK. And once I choose or add that type, give this a sec to come in here. That was cute. Terry, did you see that one? It's part of the reason I use the latest development version is to find little bugs. Once you choose the obituary, then you've got buttons over here to load. And when you choose load, you can go ahead and I should have maybe some PDF here for you. Let's see. So here I'll choose this. Let's see. I've got this image for our webinar here, and I just hit save, and it's going to save that, in this case, a picture, but you can put a PDF just fine there. And whenever you need to see it, you can just click preview, and that'll pop open a copy of it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That'll help tremendously. Now my photos are under photos.
Yeah, you probably want to keep the photos there because that's what'll show when you do an online directory or in mobile, or as we were talking earlier with the check-in. But if you have additional images, like if somebody took a scan and it's just a PNG, for example, or a TIFF or something, you can go ahead and attach that into user fields just as a file.
Okay. Oh, that's very helpful. That's going to keep me busy for a long time.
Very good. All right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, Florida. How do I just contact the Florida Church of God state offices?
Yeah, Terry.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you know who it is off the top of this. I worked with them at one point because they were trying to save some images and something got weird with their network. It was just specific with them, but I know they were doing this. But yeah, if you reach down and contact them there and say, hey, I'm in Ohio, I want to digitize. I heard that you all do this in CDM Plus. They'll definitely get you going.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to check Susan here.
Yeah, real quick, I'll just throw this out there. If we've got, looks like about 30 people still with us, and we had easily twice that earlier. Maybe should have asked at the top of the hour, but if you felt this webinar was sort of an open-ended ask me anything, if this is helpful, if you just want to put maybe a +1 or a thumbs up or a yes or whatnot in the chat, it'd be good to get a sense for whether or not we should do this on an ongoing basis. And there goes my chat window dropping up and down. Yeah. So if you all think this is useful, let us know. When Chris and I were talking about it, we thought, we could do this every month or two. Just have an open webinar and try to answer people's questions.
And it keeps going up.
It's going up.
Okay. So I'm gonna guess that's a resounding yes.
You
Great.
hit 50% already.
Okay. Good to know. All right. You said Susan was next?
Yeah, Susan, did we answer your question?
I was just going to say, yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Hey, Alex, that
yeah.
Florida office, is that the one in Tampa?
Yeah, it's user 9989.
Yeah, that's who I was just looking it up. I was going to let her know who. I think she could talk to Tony Stone is the person I was thinking of, but
yeah, Tony's
oh, she's a state treasurer.
She's a treasurer. Yeah, I work with her on investments and so on.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Next we have Weepy. Can you hear us? Weepy, can you hear us? Okay. Go ahead and mute again. All right. Let's go to the next one. Got Mary again. Mary, did we answer all your questions?
Yes, you did.
All right. Moving along. Let's go to Pam. Pam, can you hear us? Okay. Keep on rolling. Let's see.
Pam's message says she doesn't have a microphone.
Oh, okay. Let's see. All right, Alex, I'll just read it. It says, in Engage Giving, under the user's card account info, there's a field for the card expiration date. However, I do not see any way to access that field to see whose cards are due to expire.
Yes.
Is there a way to access that expiration date, or is there a report available for that info?
Gotcha. Not today, but that is also something we're heavily working on. We actually just recently, I want to say, Terry, it was earlier in March, we released an update that lets you go in and update your credit card information ahead of time. Prior to that, it was kind of janky. You had to sort of cancel your gift and put a new one in. That is the first step towards having a really solid solution for handling recurring giving or payment methods in general. The next piece from this will be an automated email to go out and say, hey, to the people that you've got a recurring gift, your credit card's going to expire in so many days, to ask them to go on and update it. With that, yes, we would absolutely be able to give you a report of people with credit cards expiring soon. So the answer is not today. There's not a great way to do that. If you wanted to check, we could probably query stewardship on the back end and give you sort of a rough report. But that is something we're definitely working to add. That feature, being able to edit expiration dates, editing recurring gifts, which we also added recently. We've got some really exciting things coming out for accessing the giving history, which is a full bore search, which it was fairly limited before. We've got a feature that should be out very soon that prompts people to add Engage to their home screen on their device, so it's easy to get in. As well as, those are things that we've built or are just about finished with. Being able to have the merge utility, this in terms of the expiring credit cards, enhancing deposit processing to handle gifts that don't go through correctly and rolling back the contribution. And the other piece that we're looking to get in fairly short order is actually overhauling what happens when you hit submit on the gift. Right now, there's a pretty heavy delay as we wait and verify the card. We're going to be changing that so that the verification actually happens separately, sort of in the back end. And then the giver will get a note to say, yes, your gift went through, or sorry, it was declined. Come here and try again. These are all sort of sticking points. They're pieces that have been there for a while that we just haven't fully addressed, and we need to address them. And it's become even more important. These are things we started looking at this year. So that's strategically a lot of what we're going after in Engage in terms of enhancements and and new features. So that's a very good one. Terry, if you would, make sure we've got a story for that, to have a report for expiring cards.
Yep, I got it down.
All right. So Pam, I hope that answers your question.
All right. Carol, trying to unmute you.
Yes.
Did we answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to
That
make
all
sure.
covered.
All righty. Let's roll on down to Peggy. Peggy, can you hear us?
Yep, you got me.
All right, we got you covered.
Yep,
All right.
you did. Thank
Awesome. Thank you. All right, rolling. We got Tanya. Can you hear us, Tanya?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Tanya.
Oh, hi. I have a couple of questions. One of them is, if I have a lot of elderly people at my church, and they're nervous about setting up the online credentials and not quite sure how to do it. So if I set up their online credentials, how do they get a password?
Great question. So in fact, I was right there. Let me go back to this other database. So there's a couple of things you can do, kind of depending on sort of how full service you want to be. When you have somebody who you basically want to set up for online giving or online access, and you're doing it as the administrator, you start by going in to their individual record in CDM Plus.
Right.
And that's where you're going to see, you should see options sort of in the bottom right on that first name tab.
Right. I saw where I could set it up, but I didn't know about the password.
Right. So when you go to establish that username, and it'll make sure that you're putting a unique one in. There's a drop down there which asks you for an email address, and it's pulling the emails that are over on the email tab. The reason we have that email address is because when you create the username, an email will be sent to that address with a code to reset their password. So it's basically going to send them an email at that time.
Okay. All right. Because I knew I was talking to my associate pastor today, because he typically gets most of the calls, and he's been, sending them all to me. And I'm like, you could do a lot of this because they call you first. And he goes, how do they get that? And I did tell him, I said, we need to make sure, that we set up something that asks them what they want. Don't just use their initial and their last name, and make sure that that is their correct email address. Ask them that.
Yeah.
So they will get an email.
Yes. So basically, whatever emails they have on their email tab here, when you go on this name tab and you click create account, and we can set this as, aclay1234, this select email address, this is where we'll actually send them a reset.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. And also, just so you know, and for everyone else listening, once you do that and you've established their username, they don't have to reset that password for you to be able to access their online giving. So once that username is established, assuming that they're linked to a giving unit, you can go over here and access that online giving tab. Now, right now, this is going to tell me that they're not set up unless it's going to pull someone else in the family, which it probably will. But yeah, you can just basically create their username, and then you can go to the online giving and set up the gift for them.
Perfect. Okay, that's so helpful. Thank you. And I have another question, and I've asked this before of support, and they said I couldn't do it, but I keep hoping that if I keep asking, eventually they'll go, hey, we can do that now.
Okay.
Okay. My checks, whenever I came on board with you guys, I already had a huge stack of checks that I had. And there's 3 checks to a page, and it's letter size. So before I was with QuickBooks, I just put them in, it would print check, 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 and go to the next one, check, check, check. Okay, so I finally got them set up and working right in accounting, and they're printing out, they're beautiful, they're so perfect, they look like they've been typed on a typewriter, the lines are perfect.
Great.
I go to payroll, they're terrible, they're all over the page, and I've got them set up. I thought the exact same way. Can you not copy that check that I've got set up all beautiful and perfect in accounting over to payroll?
Not,
Same.
yeah, there's not really a built-in functionality to copy the check, if only because there's, other than having sort of a name and a written to, there's you know, some different settings, particularly on the stub. So I assume in your instance, you're not including any of the pay stub information.
No, see, I do check, check, check on each.
Okay.
Because I may have anywhere from 4 to, well, when we get back to having church again, then we'll have nursery workers. And I typically would have 8 or 9 checks a week. We're real small. Right now, I'm just printing 4 checks. So it's not that I print them one at a time.
Okay.
But, and also I wanted to be able to print on my payroll, check, 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 but then go back and print pay stub, pay stub, pay stub. How, I don't know how to do that.
So I think for that, what you would actually do is maybe you could, for one, you would set up basically 2 different check formats here, one for the check and one for the stub. One thing you might try in terms of, you said that they're kind of not lining up. It's
the first one will line up. It's beautiful. And then when it gets down, when it goes to the next check, it's off a little bit. And then the third check's off a lot. But in AP, they're all lined up perfectly.
Okay.
That's why I can't figure out what's the difference.
Yeah, this bottom line right here, you can drag up and down. And what I would do is sort of make sure that that's the exact same.
Okay, as in my AP, maybe that's the difference.
So if you don't, otherwise it's that's called a creep, where it goes down the page. So
I bet that's what it is, and
yeah,
I bet that's the difference. I bet that's adjusted a little bit in my AP, and I didn't notice that. Okay, I'll check that.
So you can do that to sort of get the format straight. And then what I would do is when you're printing your payroll, you're going to go ahead and just print the checks, you know, for the actual check for the money. Then you can go ahead and post the payroll, and then when you go into your ledger, you'll be able to see after it posts, here's all the checks that were created, and you can select them all in the list at the top and click print check in the sidebar, and that will then from there you can say I want to print my stub option.
Okay.
Yeah. So over here, let's say I've got my you know, here's my, I'll just, you know, maybe rename this. This will be, you know, single stub, for example. So you would set that up over in your payroll setup. And then once you're here in your ledger, and after you post it, it'll show you these payroll checks. You'll turn around and then select several of them. And in this sidebar, here's a button right here to print check.
Okay.
Click that, it'll say, what format do you want to use? And in this case, it's going to, you'll be able to choose that stub.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
one last thing, and that was on the SMTP.
Yes.
We are hosted, so I just need to send an email to support.
Email support. Yep, support@cdmplus.com. Say I'd like the SMTP hosting. And again, we just need to know what's called the sending domain. Basically, what's going to be after the @ symbol.
Okay, and send it to support@ceramic.com.
Yep,
Okay.
and they'll put a request internally for data services, and we'll get it set up.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, and then you'll get an email back when that's been done.
All right, thank you. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
All right, this might be our last one, and if Teresa Purvis.
Teresa.
I don't know if she has a question or not, but try to get her unmuted here.
While we're getting Teresa on, I'll tell you, my wife and I were working on a grocery list earlier, and I've got a dish that I make. It's kind of it's a chicken salad with some plantains in it and a honey mustard dressing. I thought, oh, that sounds really good. But it calls for red onion. And Abby, my wife, said, you know, those red onions get really hot sometime. And I said, why don't we put some Vidalias in there? And she's over on the grocery list trying to type in Vidalia. I'm like, listen, you got to get that Southern Georgia drawl, Vidalia onion. That's how you spell it. And I thought about Teresa and all those Southern gals down there.
Teresa, can you hear us?
I can.
Now I've told a story on you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I really didn't have a question. I just wanted to comment on the lady that was talking about doing the user fields and all.
Yeah.
We have gone paperless with our church here. We're just about at the Z's now. We don't have many more to go. And I just wanted to tell everybody that it's not done it. That's really a great tool to do. We have used it more than I would have ever imagined, just sitting at my desk instead of getting up, running to the vault. So I just want to say for that, it's a great tool and I love it.
Excellent. And I'll tell you one thing with that, you know, because if you're on hosting, when we back up your data, we back up all those documents too. So, you know, you think about it, you got hard copies there in paper. If you had a fire or something, that'd be a pretty bad spot. So you take it would. We got you back.
Yeah, we just love it. I just wanted to say that. So
excellent.
Thank y'all very much. It was very, very good webinar.
Excellent. You're welcome. It's good to talk to you.
And that's going to wrap it up, Alex.
Okay, great. We'll hang out for a couple of minutes, see if anyone else has any other questions.
Hold on a second. Steve just messaged me, said there's a message from Candy up here.
Okay.
Maybe I skipped it. Let me scroll back up and see if I can find it.
Steve Hansen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meeting with my sales guys this morning, and they're both saying, "Oh, I'm gonna sit in and stalk your webinar."
Steve, if you see it, want to copy and paste it in that message.
Okay. I also, looking at the participants here, I see looks like Tom Proctor did the raise hand feature, so he might have a question as well.
Let's see. Here you go, Tom. Can you hear us?
Thank you, guys. Great program. I really appreciate it. A couple of things. I have a Lenovo laptop, and Control Break is Control B on the laptop. A couple of things. Is there a way to reprint posting reports?
Not currently, but that is in fact, I was talking with Stephen Leonard about that just this morning. Which posting report would you like to be able to reprint first?
Well, basically, more the ledger reports. I mean, you know, that's where you had problems. If you have 2 or 3 printers on the system, you pick the wrong printer, it goes out, and one happens to be my printer at home, and I don't get the report until I come home and print and have to take it back. So I didn't know if there's a way to reprint those or not.
Gotcha. Not currently. So there's a few years ago, when we were building a couple new features, we actually built a sort of a framework or facility for doing posting. And the goal with this was to have a nice standard facility in the software for posting that would give us a few features. For one, that's a bit easier to maintain since it's all consistent. Reprinting reports is one of them, and easily voiding or unposting would be one of them. What we haven't gotten to yet is merging or really moving some of the existing posting systems into that new posting routine, which is one of the reasons I was wondering if there's a particular one, if it was posting contributions or payables or accruing receivables or deposit processing. I'd say if I had if I was just going to pick, I'd probably say posting contributions, payables, and probably deposit processing and payroll. Those would all be some of the main ones to move first.
That would be great.
Yeah.
One other question, very simply, is there a way on a income and expenditure report, is there any way to print a negative or positive difference with that report? It comes up and shows the 2 figures, but you've got to do the math, and I didn't know if there was a way that we could drop in a line that shows the math.
So like a net difference. Yeah, so you're doing income and expenditures, so you're getting probably just 1 line per account,
right,
with sort of a net change between them. I want to say, I'm pretty sure there's not, because we recently looked at this report. Terry, can you think of any of the accounting reports off the top of your head that do that?
It would be fine if it was just the bottom total. I mean, you can compare, if it was the bottom total.
Off the top of my head, I can't.
I want to say, I know we've added it because we reworked some of these reports to be responsive, like Leisure to Budget might have it. Terry, if you make a note, I think in income and expenditures, that'd be pretty easy to add. We should definitely add that.
I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got some people that say, why can't you just put the figure up there, Tom?
Right,
I have to
right.
write it on the report. I have to do the math and write it on the report.
Yeah, I think, you could use a monthly comparison report right now.
We use that too, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that one's got the over underline, but not the income and expenditure. So that makes sense to add there.
I really appreciate it. And are you talking about doing this again on a monthly basis or weekly basis, whatever you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
I think if you were to break it down by individual applications, such as payables, payroll, membership, engage, and just do it on one page. That way, I think it would really help out for everybody.
Okay, good.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that is.
All right, actually, Alex, I have two comments, both, I believe, are without mics. Candy's comment or question was, looking for instructions to set up and edit groups and be able to insert more fields into the grids. Also, updating birthdays, can this be done from the A grid?
Sure. So for groups, one, I would definitely send you over to list maintenance. That's up under program and membership. And from there, it kind of depends what group you're after. If you're doing an individual group, you want individual list maintenance. If you're doing just addresses, it would be address list. But individual list maintenance is a window where you can pull up, let me close some of these others to focus us in. So here I've got, here's community groups, for example, and I can choose Habitat for Humanity. And these are all the people that are on the group right now. But you can basically either, find everybody in the database on the left, or you can do an advanced find just to target certain folks. Or you can pull an existing group. So I can say, well, everybody that is on the outreach committee is automatically going to be on the Habitat for Humanity. So Habitat for Humanity. So I can select everybody and copy them. So list maintenance is the best way to sort of do bulk maintenance for your groups. There should be some documentation on that. I don't know, Terry, do you know if we happen to have any recorded webinars on doing group management?
No,
maybe some.
I don't think we do.
I don't think so. That might be a good topic if we want to make a note for that. So that's really the best way to sort of, build your groups or move people between groups. This is also handy if you have multiple groups and you want to merge them together. You just pick one here and then just drag over each of these groups, and then you can delete those out. For managing the groups themselves, that's under the master coding system. So if you go under File in the sort of the top left to Master Coding System, this is where you can see all the different groups here, and it's sort of broken down by program. And then you've got all the different types. So here's where we see those community groups, for example, that we were just in, or you can see committees here. And one thing that's handy is as you're sort of clicking through these, you get a nice little count down here that says whether that group's been used for check-in or attendance or assignments that are just people in it. So that would be, that's another tool that you could use. With birthdays in the grid, if I'm on individual records and let's say I want to find everybody that doesn't have a birthday, at the top here I can go in and search for birth date equal to blank, and that's going to find everybody that doesn't have a birth date in the system currently. And then you click grid over on the left and just give that a moment or two here to sort of pull up the full list. And this is going to show me, the data that's here. If you click configure in the bottom left, this is where you can change which columns you're seeing. So I can drop this down and I can go ahead and choose, let's do birth date right there. And I can go ahead and save that. And that's going to come in and offer a birth date that I can just go in and double click and I can type, 7/20/1981. And you can fill in the birthdays here. And then once you hit save, that will save those to everybody. So I hope that helps answer your question. If not, definitely give our support team a call. They would be more than happy to help you through whatever specific task you're trying to accomplish.
Alrighty. Actually, I have two more here.
Okay.
Let's see. Pam, can you hear us? Trying Pam again. Well, I will go ahead and ask her a question. She said, is there any way that Engage can automatically assign anonymous givers to the one particular giving unit?
To like a ZZZ anonymous or guest? No, they're not currently, but that's a really good idea. I guess the assumption being that if you're anonymous, you're not interested in necessarily getting credit for it. Terry, that's a really smart suggestion. Can you go ahead and make a note for that?
Got it.
Yeah, I just figure we got a setting in there that says, map anonymous givers to, and then you pick your giving unit and off it goes. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Let's see. Then, see if I can unmute Carol here. Carol, can you hear us?
Yep.
Hi, Carol.
So this is actually Carolyn, my computer.
Sorry.
Off the matters. So I know there's a couple of reports we've run into issues that the only way we can get them to actually print on paper is to first save them as a PDF. One of the ones I used a lot recently, because we're in a pledge campaign, is pledge versus actual from contributions. And there's no way it'll come out on the printer unless you save it as a PDF and print the PDF.
So what happens when you try to print it to the printer?
It acts like it's doing it, but it never comes out.
Okay.
It takes a long time. It's usually reports that involve a lot of thinking and computing and looking at the records, and then it doesn't work. And when we called the question on it, the solution is, well, if you can do it as a PDF and get it to print, let's just go with that for now.
Yeah, that's a work. Yeah, that's a workaround. From Better Solution, what you might try doing, are you on Windows?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a little bit buried, but if you go into sort of the Windows settings for your printers and look at the properties on the printer, somewhere in there you're going to find a setting for spooling, which basically is it's a buffer, if you will. With the spooling, the application starts sending data, and then that sort of builds up into a queue and then spools out to the printer. And some very large reports can have issues with that spooling where they essentially exceed the limitation. The alternative is to print directly to the printer. And where that may be what you need to do, is set that printer to say, don't sort of spool things up, but instead just send it as it comes out. The trade-off is that what spooling gives you is it sort of lets you actually, if you've ever done this before, you hit print and the program thinks for a little bit, and then the program frees up while the printer is still going. So what the facility that allows that is the spool. The spool holds that report in memory and then sends it off to the printer. Whereas if you print directly, your program will be working as it's printing until the last sheet comes off the printer, and then it unlocks. But it's a much more direct communication to that printer. And I can just tell you anecdotally from doing this for many years, that sometimes is what it takes for those larger reports.
That probably explains the contribution report printing, where
you try like statements
very far and then start over and start printing again.
Yeah, definitely. The one advantage for statements in particular, because that often is the largest print job that a church will do each year. The spooling will probably fix that. The PDF actually isn't a bad option, or even just printing to the screen, because you're kind of statistically, if you're doing a 500 or 1,000 page print run, you're gonna have a double feed or a jam or something or you have to change paper along the way. If you've got that even just printed to the screen in CDM Plus, you can go and say, well, I need to start reprinting from this point, and you don't have to generate the whole thing again.
Right. And we found that it's nice to save those as a PDF for the people that lose it in their pile of mail at the start of the year. And you can just grab theirs and print it as it was that day.
Yeah.
Another report that it tends to have happened in the past would be like a budget comparison where you're looking at multiple years of data.
Getting pretty long there.
So I guess we'll take a look at the spooling and see if that.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be somewhere in here. There you go. So what you do is you go into your printer and you go to these printing sort of printer properties here, and under advanced you're going to say spool printer, and you can either say start printing, or you can try this setting, or you can do print directly to the printer. And I suspect that this is disabled for me right now in the sense that I'm sitting at my house and this printer is in the office and for sale. So, but that's where the spool setting is right there.
Okay. And I know with the year-end statements, we started just doing them in chunks.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. Just particularly if you have nice, giving unit ranges that you can break out, or search by their last name begins with certain letters.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the tip.
You're welcome. Chris, do we have any other questions?
I believe that is it.
Okay, good. Well, again, we'll hang out for a few more, or another few minutes here. See if anyone has any other questions. Feel free to throw in the chat or do the raise hand. But
oh, we had one.
Oh, good.
Let me it's Tanya. Tanya, can you hear us?
I do have one more question.
Yes.
Let me flip over to my screen real quick. Let's see. Okay, in my, let's see, system preferences, under the membership and attendance.
Yes.
And then the attendance. In the middle, first I have individual, and then I have, what I have set up. And then the middle column says Sunday school class, but there's nothing there. Shouldn't there be a list there as well?
Right. So
do I have something set up wrong?
Well, it's not necessarily wrong. We actually have two different kind of status codes within the system.
Okay.
So this first list, these are giving you membership status codes.
Right. I have stuff there.
Okay.
Yeah, I have pretty much what you have right there. I have that.
Gotcha. Yeah, so those are going to be probably the built-in ones. So if you were looking at an individual, that's what you're going to see on the personal tab here under their membership.
Be under membership tab.
Thank you. I'm looking right at.
Okay, right.
Membership status is right here.
Okay.
But the church in this case, in this database, is renamed to Bible study. This is the status right here. So this is your church school or Sunday school status. So it's a separate column, and those are available to manage if you go into the master coding system. So file, master coding system, codes, and individual here. You're going to see, and yours it'll be church school status or what have you. This is the list here, and that's different than your membership status. So you see this one, I've got a couple extra. So if your list is empty, what that means is you probably don't have any defined here in your church school or Sunday school status.
So it's under my master coding system?
Yes, yes.
And under codes or groups?
It's under codes and individual, yeah.
Individual.
And if yours says church school or Sunday school.
It says, well, I have church school status.
Yep, that's it.
And there's nothing there.
That's it.
Why.
That's where that list comes from.
Okay. See, I thought because I added Sunday school classes that would show there. Okay.
Right.
I got you.
Yep.
I see now why it's empty. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just noticed earlier when you were in there, I was like, I don't think I have anything.
Right. Yeah. So the idea is that you could track your membership status. You could be active within the church, but the Sunday school, you may be prospective. You haven't officially joined that track yet, or if you're inactive, you stopped engaging at that level, but you're still engaged in the church. So that's why there's
that's great, because that was just exactly what I was talking to about today with my pastor, was that we have people that they come all the time, but they may actually belong to another church and they've never, but they come to our church all the time. So we were like, how can we track them as their regular attenders, but not members or whatever. So that's where I would need to go in there and set whatever I want. Thank you.
Do that.
That
You're
answered
welcome.
that question too, twofold.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Chris, have we collected any others?
That is it.
Okay. Well, I've got minus Terry, Chris, and a couple of sales guys. Looks like we got about maybe 14 or 15 that stuck out the whole 2.5 hours. I really appreciate y'all taking your time. So we'll hang out for a couple more minutes here, but if you have any questions, let us know. But otherwise, I wish everyone has a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay sane, and don't forget, if you have any question, there's no question too simple or too complex, give our support team a call, and we'll definitely get you an answer.